Week 159 arrives, and with it comes the qualifiers for the Clubman Cup the following week. Contested with 640 class cars, being it's one of the more populated categories in the Challenge Series, it's reasonable to expect there's going to be a lot of different names trying to make the grid as we cover, well, we cover 3 continents. We don't actually go to Europe this week, which was kind of odd, especially considering there's at least 2 European tracks on the actual championship schedule. But, you know, scheduling be schedule. Choking my spit there. Good job. Very, very good commentary, Riker. But yeah, we start at Interlagos, start in South America, and well, we kind of technically head more like northeast from here, since we don't ever go to Europe. We are away from Sao Paulo. That's not even 4-wheel drive. It's just that's like the first car on the grid that's rear-wheel drive. Koki Sawatari immediately makes off with the race lead off the jump. Maki also made up multiple spots off the grid. And Silica, in her Mini Cooper Challenge, is the POV car for this one. Silica, at least so far this season, has kind of proven to be a bit of a jack of all trades in the series thus far. But is very close for the lead. Maki is right up to Sawatari's tail lights. The battle of mid-engine cars, low-power mid-engine, is pretty much like the dream setup for a course like Interlagos. She wanted to send it, Sawatari kind of covered off the line. So he does know some actual driving talent then. Prerequisite reminder, the top 4 from each of this week's 5 races are the ones who will go on to race in the championship. That's running higher than I thought it'd be. I guess he probably used 4-wheel drive advantages off the grid. Utah was the pole sitter, already down to, well, now 6th as we have damage on lap 1. And also to see Sinon handing some damage to Stephanie Kaiser in the 904 Carrera. They're 3 wide at turn 1. A Porsche, oh hi Silica, where the fuck? Okay, so I guess, we were just looking at Sinon bumping into Kaiser. Didn't notice that Silica had the run of a lifetime on, like, everybody there. And the camera wasn't far enough over to look at cars on the far inside, but her little Mini Cooper was there, and she picks up, like, contact with her teammate, but she picks up, like, 3 places just in the time between the pit road entrance and the exit of turn 1. It was a similar story for Maki, getting alongside on the front straightaway, and down the inside goes that Ferrari. It was very close, but clean battling between the 2 of them, and Nishikino is going to take the lead off 3. Meanwhile, because of the damage early on, Joshua Riggs moves up to the 4th transfer position, but has Dakota Kingsley in the F-150 breathing down his neck, but doesn't feel like making an overtake at turn 4, even though that's the best place to do it. And that is how the other 2 end up in the pits. Serene brakes a little early, and Emi Ibarazaki in the Integra finds the back end of the Coronet. Cut back to present time. Maki has grown a relatively comfortable margin. At least he won't be mirror driving from there, unlike Joshua Riggs, who has at least a dozen lights in his mirror from the pickup truck alone, let alone the other cars that are also close enough to be a threat. But I wouldn't really be particularly concerned about Hu Tao. That Elantra does not seem to be particularly well tuned. It does not run very well. I mean, it's the pulsator of the race. It lost 7 places on lap 1. Only made 2 of them back when Emmy and Reen crashed into each other. Silica up to 8th in the Mini. I can't imagine front-wheel drive is particularly effective here at Interlagos. All these low-speed corner exits are basically the one thing that front-wheel drive cars do not like above all else, and there's a lot of things they don't like, I'm certain, and I think most other people also know that. But they do have acceleration once you can point the wheel straight. And Silica is able to use that on the long straightaway. They are surprisingly good on straightaways. You just never notice it because they just can never get any acceleration. But you might be able to see it. You'll probably be able to see it better here, because turn 3 is a high-speed turn, so there's less wheel spin for the Mini. Gets the Ford, gets the Nissan, gets into P4. There's contact behind Silica, but no damage dealt to the 350Z. Silica finds herself in a transfer position behind one of her teammates, and Sawatari and Nishikino. We skip ahead to the end of the lap as Silica uses that acceleration to blow her teammate's doors off on the straightaway and get right up to the back of the Alpine ahead, but cannot convert. Oh, never mind, she caught him sleeping on the brakes, but he has the inside line. Sawatari made a defense. Not a very good one though, it hurt his exit. Around the outside goes the Mini Cooper. And there's not much that the 417 car can do about it. Two laps to go, and with a pretty significant breakaway for the top 4. I think we might already know who will be making it to the Clubman Cup from race 1 this week. Skipping ahead to the end of the lap, a bit of a poor exit from Maki out of Jun Sao, going to leave Silica in with a chance at taking the lead away. And of course, the winner of the first race of the week gets to start on pole position for the first round of the Clubman Cup. Dead heat over the start-finish line, but it's Silica in the lead as we hit the brakes, but she didn't hit him in time. She's gonna whip turn 1. Maki comes back with the vengeance. Around the outside goes the Ferrari, but that might not be enough on its own. Never mind, it is. Maki slides up the track to cover off the momentum. She still has it though, back down the inside for the 410 car. A little earlier on the brakes, but Maki doesn't have as effective a brakes because her car is older. It's still enough to keep Silica at bay. A hotly contested battle for what is effectively pole in the first round of the Clubman Cup. And for a front-wheel drive car like Silica, that is going to be a huge lifeline if she can grab it. This is the section where I imagine the 308 probably does better. And it is doing better, but not by too much of a margin. Silica is still very much a threat, and Maki is about to run out of slow corners. But she doesn't really haul the mail out of Jun Sao here. I think the victory will actually go to Silica in the long run. It was fine from Maki, but now Silica's got slipstream and a very long straightaway ahead. At the pull to the left, it's gonna be a drag race. And victory will go to Silica at the stripe. I think if I remember right, the race notes said a margin of victory of 0.04 of a second. Sawatari 3rd, Rain 4th. Joshua Riggs will win the drag race for 5th, but that is ultimately might as well be first loser in a qualifying round, as Rain will grab the 4th and final transfer spot to join her teammate Silica at the Clubman Cup. See if I can actually get all 4 qualifiers in frame-ish. More or less. I mean, Rain is a handful of pixels way back there, but you get the idea. So add Silica, Maki, Koki Sawatari, and Rain to the roster for Clubman Cup. We head from South to North America for the second race of the qualifiers. We head to the full layout of Watkins Glen, despite Logan's insistence otherwise. But, you know, this is a bigger event. We need a bigger track. The 640 class and the 675 class, even to a lesser extent, are kind of positioned in the middle where they could run either class or either layout of the track, and it would still be workable. 600's too slow for the full layout, but 715 is usually a little too quick for the short one. But we usually try to use the more, I don't even know. I would say this is the more, well-known, renowned layout of the track, but I'm not even sure about that, because the shorter layout is used for NASCAR, and Watkins Glen is mostly known as a NASCAR track, even though other series have histories here, like IndyCar and IMSA. I don't know. Doesn't matter. We're not any of those things anyway. We are green from Watkins Glen, and you definitely spot the front-wheel drive car up that high on the grid as everybody just swivels around it. The outside pole sitter was Iris, but she jumped Whitney Velvet off the green. Four-wheel drive advantage, go Burr, but that Charger is in hot pursuit of that Ford. And I imagine Velvet is just gonna blow Iris's doors off the second we get onto the back straightaway here. Although I'm not sure, because those gears are maybe a little short for this track. I know, an old muscle car with short gears, who's ever heard of that, but I don't know if Velvet really got that dialed in right. She still gets the lead back through the bus stop chicane. Meanwhile, Iris' sister Isabel is rapidly climbing the running order, already up into the top 4. And she definitely did not start there. I think she started like 8. That is exactly where she started on backtracking on the recording. She's going for 3rd on Shiro Suzuka. Around the outside is going to be tough for a Mustang. It's not exactly known for agility, but she might have the better exit off of that mini carousel. That's 3 wide, is it? No, Isabel backs out of that. But DOS.0 certainly isn't, and the Ford Roadster is poised to grab 3rd from the Supra. And that she does. Demon Sports more than familiar with this circuit, although it's not their home track. It's actually the home track of Southern Speed Co. Yeah, go figure. The Southern Speed Co.'s home course is not even... It's about as far north in the United States as you can get. While Demon Sports actually has a southern-based track as their home track in Road Atlanta. Right, there's a POV driver. Last week's winner of the Deep Forest 44, Wanda Glass, is looking to add another major accolade to her crown, and that starts with qualifying for the Clubman Cup first. She's taken 9th from Tokayama, fellow member of the Golden Generation here in the Challenge Series, and she might also grab another spot from Suzuka, another member of that same group, and just like that, she's now in P7. Speaking of Southern Speed Co., they are indeed present, as well as Mopar Garage, who are based out of Daytona, so a lot of, naturally plenty of North American representation. Demon Sports, Mopar Garage, and Southern Speed Co. are all based in North America, and they're all coming out to play here at the Glen. Isabel has since overtaken her little sister, as has Dos Point Oh, so it is an all-American car, top 4, top 5 at the moment. But I think Wanda Glass may have something to say about that. It's going to be hard to outdo the Superbird on a straight though, but I don't think that's really Glass's plan. She's in an RX-7, she's got plenty of cornering grip, you might as well just do it there instead. That is a gaggle of cars back here, all kind of being somewhat spearheaded by this battle between Kilgore and Suzuka. Around the outside for Wanda Glass, that is a decision. But sometimes you just need ambush tactics, and forcing Dick Trivial to miss the final turn is exactly what the doctor ordered for Wanda Glass. She's up to 5th. If she can pass the 299 car, she will be in a qualifying position. And I don't think it's going to be too long of a wait for that. She's going to have to go the long ways around, but I don't think she's lacking in confidence right now. Not after making her way up this many places this quickly, and certainly not after winning the Beat Force 44 at this point just 5 days ago. Fairfield Cruz is going to be the next contestant to overtake the P99. The Escort may have some of the better launch speed in the series, but in this category for that matter, but long-term pace Iris seems to be lacking in compared to all of the cars ahead, and probably some of the ones behind as well. Down on power, I imagine, is what the problem is, especially compared to a Corvette, a Superbird, and 2 Camaros filling her mirrors at the moment. It's also probably exactly why Shiro Suzuka is plummeting down the order. He was as high as 3rd at one point, but he's fallen outside of the top. I know he's in 10th, but I don't know how long that's going to be that way as Logan sends it down his inside. Kind of barges him out of the way a little bit, but Suzuka was not intimidated and remains P10. Glass is caught up to the leading 3 cars that made a bit of a breakaway on lap 2. 1968, 1932, 1969, and 1990, we have a very old top 4 at the moment, just 2 laps away from qualifying for the Clubman Cup. Glass is going to really overshoot that braking point, and that will not get her into the top 3. That is not how you do it. Trivial overtakes Iris. Buck down the inside of the S's is trying to do the same thing. Yeah, the Escort is suffering. It does not have the power to keep up with these muscle cars at a rather high-speed circuit. I guess Wanda did get Isabel in the long run up the S's, and now she's going to try and take the spot away from the 617 of Dos Point Oh, and the inside lane for a much more maneuverable vehicle should be the nail in the coffin on that. One Dodge Charger driven by a relative newbie in Whitney Velvet. Not much of a documented racing history for this one, seemingly just a journeyman with a fancy-looking Charger versus, well, I guess Wanda Glass isn't exactly a renowned racing driver yet, but, well, if she keeps winning the way she did last week, there might be subject to change. Velvet down the inside at the heel of the boot section. Signs of life from the 19 car. 9 versus 19. What in the Ray Evernham am I looking at here? Here we got 9, 19, 29, and then Dos Point Oh's car number is made up of the Roush font for 6 and 17. Old fonts, mind you. This is very much NASCAR coded. Unfortunately, Wanda Glass does not have, a very NASCAR-looking car driving a fucking RX-7. should have brought a Camry. Even that 19 is literally the Abraham font, and the 29 on Isabel's car is the old font from Marciard. To the race lead for Wanda Glass. This time, most likely for good. Good words right there. Those gears are longer than I thought they were. But yeah, now Glass just gonna make use of that mid to low speed cornering grip on the RX-7, and a massive advantage that she's obviously going to have over the rest. Battle between rival teams. Demon Sports versus Southern Speed Co. Looks like Buck is gonna just muscle his way past in the bus stop chicane of all places. De La Cruz, despite having all of the downforce in the world to fight that in his Group 3 road kit, just didn't have an answer. Dos.0 battling for second. Others, of course, it still matters where you finish within the top 4. Yeah, qualifying is the important thing, but if you can finish better, she was sitting on Glass there. She's trying to get ahead of Whitney Velvet. But, that's a big difference. That's starting 7th versus 12th they're fighting here. That's 5 positions. But it looks like Dos.0's offense has been smothered. I'm not exactly sure how Velvet did it, but Velvet did do it. However, it is going to be Wanda Glass winning yet another race, this time from Watkins Glen in her home country. Velvet second, finishing only 1 spot down from where they started. Dos.0 third, Isabel Aspinall, the last driver who will qualify for the championship. Though not from a lack of effort from any of these 5 pictured here. Sort of the best of the rest, I suppose. I don't know, I think Buck definitely had the speed to get up there looking at that lap time, but it's not really that much faster than them, so I'm actually not sure if he would have gotten up there, but nevertheless, these 4 are headed to the next, they're headed to the championship. I almost said the next round. No, they're just headed to the round. We remain in the North American continent for Wednesday's 3rd race of the qualifiers. The Montreal Circuit CGV has quickly become a staple in the Challenge Series, despite only being around for about a month or 2 up to this point. I think it's probably about 2 months, just over. I don't remember the exact week we held our first race here, but we've held one at close enough to every other subsequent week after that. It's already produced some solid battles. It was the championship round of the Sunday Cup. So we'll see what it can put on this week as we try to pick out the next 4 contenders at the Clubman Cup. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this track appear in that championship as well. But this race has a bit of a mixed bag. It's not in Europe, but it's about the closest we get to racing in Europe. So for any hopeful European drivers and teams, this is probably the most accessible option. And we are away from Montreal and another team that's actually North American based, but doesn't really have a home circuit. Blue Strata is out in force. 4 of their 6 drivers are in this race, and Vincent Houston, the team's owner, is the POV driver. And he's already making some solid progress into 15th. And off goes Dietrich Hammer. It is chaos at the exit of the first chicane, and he is going to clobber many a vehicle there. He just got on the gas too early and the car bottomed out. He gets tagged by August Embers, and he is just hopelessly out of control and does big damage his car, to Barazaki's car. She cannot catch a break this week, and collects Jeremiah Wood and Rebecca Briggs in the process, so that is a massive hit to most of Blue Strata's lineup there. It looks like Vincent Houston is going to just about be the last vestige of hope for them. I suppose Ricky Briggs is also still got a clean machine at the moment. Yeah, there's a couple of names we haven't seen in a while. We haven't seen the aforementioned August Embers racing too recently. The 3 wide, fighting between 2 cars that are pitting on this lap for damage anyway. Haven't seen much from Ignacio Cortez lately. He showed up. Naturally, we were always going to see Pacific Spirit in force this round, since this is their home circuit. A track that they literally, or a track that Brian Ice at least partially owns. So that's probably a big part of why we have run here so many times already, is because he has made it available to the series just about upon request, so long as it's a series or class that he or his drivers can compete in, and as we're seeing, Mickey Harris and Dom DePrisco are doing exactly that. Mika Harris is still in 3rd, which means she is already in a transfer spot. DePrisco is in 6th, but he has damage, so his hot pursuit may soon be over. Just the weaker brakes on the older car. That's all there is to that. Didn't even damage Mishima's 300 either. Just his Countach. Team AMT, based out of Spa, is also in force today. We saw Michael Krieger is not in this race, but his buddy and co-worker Diedrich Hammer was, and we saw what became of that at the first chicane of the race. But Riza started on the front row, if not on pole, I don't quite recall. And she has run away with the lead thus far. Kevin Bergstrom in 4th, so he is solid to transfer from here as well, if things remain as they are. I'm having a moment with the cameras. Yumiya Leisfeld is in the race. I think that might be it for AMT. Yes. So, that's still 4 members. 2 of them are in transfer spots thus far. Yumiya's not really in the ballpark. Just chaos in the back straightaway as Dom has to pit. Xenon fails to squeeze her way past, so that'll remove her from the running. With suspension damage and everything, that's gonna absolutely knock her out here. But despite that, it's not going to stop Vincent Houston from trying to get the pass done on the track. He does not want to be losing time when the transfer spot is still a little bit up the road. It's not too far, but I mean, Kevin Bergstrom is also a moving target, so you know how that goes. You skip ahead through a couple of chicanes where not much of note was really happening. The replay cameras missed Mika Harris, making the move for 2nd over Joshua Riggs. Now she's right on the back of Riza. And as soon as I move the camera away to look at that, Vincent Houston overtakes Reiko Mishima for P5. And the transfer spot is in his crosshairs now, but he cannot get the move done at the hairpin. Mika Harris also tried to get a move done on Stout at the hairpin, and that also failed, but the Mustang has more horsepower and it's just going to blow Riza's doors right off. Mika Harris to the race lead at her team's home circuit. Get a stop for the chicane, and Vincent Houston was able to easily outdrag an M3 on the back straightaway. There goes Xenon into the pits. She will not be joining her 2 teammates, Rain and Silica, in the Clubman Cup at this rate. Vincent Houston's gotten into the top 4. Anything from here is just simply bonus points, but that's a tall order. These 2 are making some real fast lap times. Yeah, Vincent Houston does have the lap record, but that's still about 5 seconds to catch on Harris. And he's still got to negotiate the 350Z as well before he can focus on any of that, but I think he just did. Down the inside of the 106. Put it on the podium for the 607. I don't think Riggs is going to have the horsepower necessary to form any kind of response heading towards the next one. Skipping ahead to the white flag flying, we'll see if Liza has anything to offer Harris at the last second. Harris is pushing. She clearly still sees that V8 in her mirrors, as evidenced by all of that oversteer on exit, but inexplicably it didn't seem to lose her much time. And yeah, all three of these cars are running... Mika Harris ran the exact same lap twice. She ran a 42.923 on the previous two laps. That is the kind of consistency that wins you a race. There's nothing else to say there. Riza's keeping the pace, but she doesn't have the pace she would need to go ahead. And Vincent Houston is also keeping their pace, but he's some 4 or 5 seconds back from these two, and there's only a handful of turns left to go. So unless Riza just got the exit of a lifetime and a huge slipstream off of the hairpin, I think victory will go to the 32 up there. Funnily enough, it's the number 32 versus the number 3028. Final braking zone. Harris gets it slowed down. She is going to grab a victory from her team's home circuit. Not dominant, but not exactly in doubt either. I'm sure Harris could go quicker if the lead was there, but Riza will come home second. Vincent Houston nabs P3, and Joshua Riggs, who came one spot short at Interlagos, will make it from Montreal as the last contender for the Clubman Cup to come out of this race. But, you know, obviously the big highlight, Mika Harris gets it done for Pacific Spirit. Probably their only hope. Dom's probably going to have to spend some time fixing that car. 1974 Countachs aren't exactly easy to fix. Thursday brings us to Japan and Fuji Speedway, where, spoiler alert, we will remain on the Japanese landmass. I almost said continent. It's not a continent, it's a landmass, it's a country. But yeah, we will remain here for the remainder of the week. Fuji first, then we head to Tokyo. And now is when we'll see all the Japanese teams flood to the starting grid. We probably won't see too many American or European teams, but we might still see some European teams take the grid since they didn't get a European option. We are away from Fuji Speedway. A lot of four-wheel drive cars near the front of the grid. A lot, like I'm not kidding. Mitsubishi, Impreza, Escort, again. Another Impreza, R32, another Escort. Weird. Yo's the pole sitter, and she's already taking off from the rest of the field. Her bestie, Chika Takami, is a close second. And their former teammate, Tetsuya Harada, is now running third. Iris again started on the outside pole, but this time she does not get to the race lead from it. And she is potentially seconds away from falling out of the top four already. As Riel, down here in the background, misses the hairpin. And another member of Aqua, Ruby Kurosawa, is the PRV driver. Her sister Daya is trying to get into the top four. She's going to have to either pass Aspinall or Harada to get there. There's a lot, yeah, unsurprisingly, a lot of Aqua members at this race. I don't think it's quite the whole team, but it's damn close to the whole team. Actually, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hanamaru is missing. Hanamaru is the only one from Aqua not in this race, which is surprising because her attendance is usually higher than most on that team. Only really rivaled by that of Chica and Yo, the front two at the moment. Not sure why she wouldn't be at this race. Maybe her car is getting maintained. Ruby is getting swept away both by Kazuya Hanamura and by her own teammate Rico. Gaia did make it into the top 4, passing Iris on the push stretch. With 8 of the 9 members filling up 8 of the 20 spots on the grid, I'm curious to see as Liza tries to fight around the outside of that Cosmos for 5th. Having just watched one Porsche make it into the top 4, imagine she feels like it's almost her duty to join her there. Or if she doesn't want to finish behind another Porsche when she's the one representing the company. Stephanie is also in this race, I think? Yeah, and she's running dead last again. She got damage on lap 1 a second time. They need to rethink that vehicle, I think. It doesn't have the brakes to really keep up here. It's probably exactly what happened. Probably had to brake early again and just got driven into. What happened at Interlagos on Monday. It took her out of contention there. Ruby puts the moves on Iris for 6th, trying to get up to the top 4 and join her older sister there. While said older sister fills the mirrors of Tetsuya Harada in the Impreza. Chica and Yo still kind of comfortably maintaining the pace of the race. Doesn't seem like Gaya's going to have a shot at Harada here, though. Now it's got some super late braking, which she does not perform. Iris is going to take 6th back from the AE86, but Ruby's going to have a really good exit to continue fighting that. We actually have a fair bit of NFR representation. We already had Isabel make it in at Watkins Glen, but NFR being based out of Australia right now, at Bathurst specifically, this is the closest they get as well as Fuji. You can also see Colin Morris running 8th. Harvey Holt also on the track in his Mach 1, but he's been swept up in traffic early on. We do see all the eligible Porsche AG cars in the race, so that's an example of a European team that tried their luck here. How did that happen? This happened seconds ago. I guess Gaia just got a really good run through the long left and just ambush tactics on the 92 car is going to get her into 3rd. And on the hypothetical level, leaves the 4th spot open to be grabbed either by Liza or Ruby. So either another Porsche can join her or her sister. I think I know which one Gaia would prefer by and large. Skip ahead to the front straightaway. It is a literal freaking procession, except for Mari out dragging Colin Morris before they even pass the start line. 2 laps to go at Fiji. Liza's in hot pursuit of the 92 car. But Ruby shouldn't be discounted yet either. Harada, buddy, I hate to tell you, I think you're on borrowed time here. The rest of the top 3 kind of in a relatively tight band here. Probably a sound strategy to do that, actually. Be for the slipstream, so long as nobody tries to get greedy and go for overtakes. Which we've already seen Aqua employ solid teamwork. Never mind, Gaia is Gaia. She's gonna send it on Chica at the hairpin. They might have the space to do that though, because Harada is not really closing in on them. They're still gonna be too wide heading up the hill, Daya will eventually slip through into second. I guess she really wanted that higher starting grid position. Maybe, I guess they may think, oh, Ruby has suddenly gotten ahead of Liza while I was watching the battle between Ruby's teammates. And now she's going to be looking for a move on the 92 who covers off her late Apex. That's going to be trouble for something as low-powered as this car. They're about dead even down the front straightaway. White flag is in the air. And we still got that fourth transfer spot worth fighting for here. 3 cars looking for it. Liza finds herself down the inside of the A86, but can't really convert much off of that. Chica's gonna go back down the inside of Daya, or try, and fail. Daya wasn't having any of that. Realistically, you would think Daya around the outside. There's the lighter, more maneuverable car coming in where it counts. Ruby is gonna move to P4 with that. Absolutely stunning Tetsuya Harada at the prolonged corner. And just like that, Aqua are walking out the entire top 4 at what is effectively, not even effectively, literally their home track. Aqua is based near Fuji Speedway, not at it. But they basically have a garage here anyway, just like the former NFR is owned by Noir as well as Mercury Racing. I suppose, when you think about it, it would actually be beneficial if Daya started ahead of the other teammates, because these two can make up spots with their four-wheel drive advantage. Daya and Ruby, being rear-wheel drive, won't have that kind of acceleration off the jump. But beyond all doubt, it is going to be a transfer spot top 4 lockout for Aqua, led home by who other than Yo Watanabe. Daya in close proximity for second, then Chica, and then Ruby will grab the 4th and final one to get all 4 of them into the Clubman Cup. Harada held on for a long time, but he will only be getting 5th. It's actually a 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, as Mario Hara in the Samba bus was moving pretty quickly too. She had about the pace of the top 4, but she just didn't have the starting grid spots to actually get there. So, yeah, in theory, I mean, obviously it's because, only 4 can make it, but I feel like probably 5 or 6 of the 8 Aqua cars that started the race had enough speed to deserve a spot there. Sunrise from Tokyo Expressway as we get ready to determine who will be the last 4 contestants at the Clubman Cup. And there's not much else to cover, honestly. No one said it was complicated, despite how complicated I make it sound sometimes. We are away from Tokyo Expressway. Reiko Mishima is going to have a pole position on, I think, her 3rd or 4th attempt at qualifying for this race. And she's going to immediately lose that race lead, potentially. If Barbara Page has anything to say about it, this is her 1st attempt of the week. And it's going to be her only one, because there's no more races after this. Obviously. And in this race, it is Taniguchi Race Team out in force. As Akira Taniguchi bounces off of the outside wall in his Mark III Supra. Also, Black Stallion Motorsports showing up in droves here as well, but not quite to the same numbers that Taniguchi Race Team has. Drag race for the race lead. Barbara is gonna slide Reiko Mishima right over, and then just take off with the lead in the C3 Corvette. And watch as that thing vanishes into the distance slowly but surely. Rash is already into 3rd, and using the downforce on that Group 4 Mustang to good effect to really send it through that little S section. Kazuya Takahata, one of the members of Taniguchi Race Team, is the POV driver in that R32. He's already up to P6, overtaking his, I think, friendly rival. I don't really know exactly what to call the relationship Kazuya and Akira have, whatever grammar. And Taniguchi has to fight his teammate Sugimoto through the death chicane, and you're just seeing there, that is in one frame. That's like 5 members of this team. Let's see. Takahata, who's about to pass 2 cars and just jump straight to the qualifying spots with that immense straight line performance on the GTR. Taniguchi, Sugimoto, Kitano, Nakazato, Suzuka, Michiko Taniguchi back here in the van. So yeah, 7 members of TRT out of 10. Hikari himself doesn't have a car in this class, so he can't run. I'm trying to think who is absent. Keiichi Oda and John Large, I believe. Thrasher tried to put the maneuvers on Reiko at the hairpin. Here the DX barely holds off the higher downforce car. So we'll see if Thrasher can use that downforce instead to get the pass on the way out of the S's here. You should be able to take them basically flat out. He burps the throttle. Reiko didn't really slow down much either. Okay, maybe Thrasher's not all that special after all. But Takahata is rapidly approaching them in that R32. There's contact. Bumper to the back of the 765. Thrasher overused the downforce. Finds the tail end of the 300Z. Doesn't damage his own car, but... We've seen that a few times from him. He just gets a little eager on the brakes. He forgets how heavy his Mustangs really are. He's going to get outdone by Takahata on the straight, who will also look for a move on the now wounded 300Z. And he will just kind of muscle his way by into P2. And conveniently, Mishima is going to pay for the damage there. And that's going to allow Thrasher's teammate, Thomas O'Reilly, to climb into P4. I'm not saying that was Thrasher's MO, I'm just saying that is a really unfortunate coincidence. There are plenty of other drivers that I know that would employ that kind of tactic. I don't know. I do know is that it's a bit of a trek for Kazuya Takahata to get to the race lead from here. That's only about 2.5 seconds. It's not really what I was making it out to be, and Barbara's very clearly not pushing the car. And I think she's about to pay for that. That is a 20-mile-an-hour difference through there on the way out of that little S section there. And Takahata is going to immediately take the fight to the number 55 Corvette. But that is not an overtaking spot there, and everybody knows that. Takahata is going to back out of that. Is that just like a single direction crossover? He just like waited and then got back in line and then got back at it. I don't even know how to call that. I really don't. I don't think Barbara did either, because she fell for it hook, line, and skyline. Or no, hook, skyline, and sinker, actually. Would be the better pun, Riker. I have not achieved comedy on this day. 2 laps to go, but that is a huge breakaway between P4 and P5. Riho Futaba, I think, also on her third attempt to make it in, and it doesn't look good. I'm just gonna say that. Meanwhile, we got 3 teammates on TRT fighting for 6th place. Taniguchi, followed by his boss at Kyoto Kitano, and the rider who has damaged his car, potentially by running into the back of his own teammate and employee. So that's a little embarrassing for Kitano. Yeah, TRT is taking up 6, 7, 9, 10, 15. Kitano just tossed himself out. And they're also in the lead with Takahata. After getting up to the back of Barbara at the hairpin here, and just sends it down the inside on the brakes. That time he does properly estimate his braking abilities on that Mustang, Group 4 or not. And Barbara just got blocked off by Thrasher. She had a run, but Thrasher blocked it in, and Thomas will take full advantage and head off Barbara's advances on the back straightaway. So Barbara Page gets mugged by Black Stallion Motorsports. And now Thrasher's in with the shot at taking the lead away from Takahata if he can play his cards right. I don't think Takahata's going to let that happen, though. Barbara is easy to make kind of just way over. She doesn't like being in the way, and so she usually just drives faster than everyone else. But that is a really strong final chicane from Takahata, and I think he's got this one solidly in the bag. A little bit of momentum from Thrasher, but not enough. Kazuya Takahata is starting the final lap. I don't know how to count. Good job, me. Okay. Still, everything else I said stands. That's embarrassing. I'm still relatively confident that not much is really going to change between here and the actual finish. Unless Thrasher sends a gargantuan dive bomb at the hairpin here. And that is a negative. And Takahata should have the straight line speed advantage, even if Thrasher can probably get a lick of slipstream from there. He's going to be able to get the better exit off of that hairpin for one. And then just to add to that, he's going to have more power, or at least less aero, weighing him down. So I thought, but Thrasher's actually reeling him in, and that's before we get to this flat-out corner. They're dead even, though. Takahata managed to take that at full speed as well. It's going to be a rash maneuver from Thrasher at the chicane if he wants to win. And he's not going for anything of the sort. He didn't really have a chance to. And Takahata gets out of the chicane cleanly, so that's gonna actually, this time for real, be it in the bag for the R32 driver. Final little kink. Kazuya Takahata wins the final qualifier, and you can just kind of see with your own eyes the four that make it to the championship. Thrasher makes it with maybe some slightly dirty deeds, getting in the back of Mishima and then just kind of sending it on Barbara and blocking her off, so his teammate Thomas O'Reilly can grab third, but at the end of the day, Barbara still gets fourth. She wins fourth place. Yeah, that's how you say that. She will finish in fourth place, meaning she will be the last qualifying driver for the Clubman Cup and therefore the POV driver when we get there next week. Ryo Futaba has absolutely fell apart. Not that it matters too much. This is just the fight for best of the rest. You don't qualify for P5. Something that I'm sure Kazuya Takahata is going to remind Akira Taniguchi of, at least more than once, in the days that follow. But for the Clubman Cup, you're looking at a 20-car grid of Keiko Silica, Wanda Glass, Mika Harris, Yo Watanabe, and Kazuya Takahata as race winners this week. Followed by Maki Nishikino, Whitney Velvet, Ryza Stout, Daya Kurosawa, Thrasher, Koki Sawatari, Dos.0, Vincent Houston, Chika Takami, Thomas O'Reilly, Nijika Rain, Isabel Aspinall, Joshua Riggs, Ruby Kurosawa, and Barbara Page. Despite starting dead last, I actually think the money might still be on her for the Clubman Cup. I mean, she is the Season 2 champion. She is the only champion to have made it to this championship, and only season champion, I should say. Yo won the Special Conditions Cup. So she's also probably high on the list. But yeah, generally, if we're going by like horse racing betting odds, Barbara is at least number 1 or 2 favorite to win pretty much any race she starts. And that goes doubly true for any major championship formats, where her consistency can shine just as much as her individual pace.